It's too late. Your life is already destroyed. There's no hope. You have no hope. You're done. Millennials were the first digital natives, or they were called the early adopters. We're trying to make it so you never have to be alone, which is a horrible thing to do. It's spiritually healthy for people to be alone. The fixation on the screen is amplified by the fact that it is a social instrument. No, not the greatest generation, the dumbest generation. They don't have God. They don't have church. They don't have any spiritual awareness, no transcendent orientation in their lives. Life is harder when there is no appeal to something beyond.
¿Qué onda? ¿Cómo están? Yo soy Rolfo Pichardini y sean bienvenidísimos a un episodio de Inconformes Podcast. El día de hoy tenemos un episodio muy inconforme. Lo grabé en su casa, en un estudio medio improvisado en Washington, D.C. Estoy hablando de Mark Bauerlein. Él es profesor universitario emérito, crítico cultural y senior editor de la revista First Things y autor del muy polémico bestseller The Dumbest Generation. Obviamente está hablando de los Millennials para abajo, o sea, nosotros. Y es un libro que predijo un poco el colapso intelectual que estamos viendo hoy, particularmente en estas generaciones. Mark tiene una tesis que la verdad es que incomoda un poco, ya que asegura que los Millennials para abajo, es decir, los Millennials y nosotros, no somos la generación digital prometida, sino la generación más tonta. El asunto es que dice que muchos, la gran mayoría, ya no tienen vuelta atrás. En esta conversación con Mark platicamos de diferentes cosas, entre por qué el celular, él cree, es prácticamente una herramienta demoníaca que fomenta el narcisismo y la ansiedad. También hablamos de la hipocresía de Silicon Valley y de este fenómeno curioso de cómo los fundadores y los multimillonarios de estas empresas promueven a nivel mundial el uso de estas aplicaciones y dispositivos, pero prohíben a sus hijos utilizarlos. También hablamos del precio de borrar la historia y cómo el sistema educativo, al eliminar lo que él llama la alta cultura, es decir, los clásicos, nos ha dejado un poco sin herramientas emocionales para soportar el sufrimiento de la vida propia. Y al final hablamos de una guía de supervivencia un poco radical y de consejos para enderezar un poco el camino en nosotros y en futuras generaciones. Un disclaimer, está grabado en inglés, no es mi primer idioma, pero de verdad intenté que las preguntas fomentaran el diálogo y bueno, la verdad es que es un episodio que te hace pensar muchísimo y replantearte la manera en la que utilizas la tecnología. Sin más, familia, yo soy Rodolfo Pichardini y disfruten el episodio con Mark Bauerlein.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for being here with us. Well, actually, we're here with you, so thanks a lot for receiving us. It's a great honor to be here with you. First of all, as a kind of disclaimer, English, as you can see, is not my main language, but I'll try to do my best.
You're doing great.
Well, thank you. Also for the audience, have a little patience with me because, I mean, I'll try to do my best. It's a little bit rusty, but... So, you've talked a lot about Millennials, you know, this generation that it's been born like maybe in the 80s or so. You've written 2 books about them, and I mean, it's incredible. But I would like to start about the first one, The Dumbest Generation. It came out a little bit more over like 15 years ago. And well, its title alone, it's like a very bold, like non-conformist title. So
It's an insult.
It is, yeah, it is, absolutely.
Of about 60 million Americans.
But first, why do you decided to put that title, and do you expect to be so controversial?
The title actually comes from a novel by Philip Roth, who was an important American novelist in the second half of the 20th century. It's just a phrase that he uses in talking about young people today, complaining about them. So I thought, okay, we've heard about the greatest generation, which is the generation before the baby boomers in the United States. And there were people at the time, 2005, 2006, who were talking about millennials as the next greatest generation. There was a lot of cheerleading for millennials. In fact, just think about the name millennials. They were supposed to be Gen Y after Generation X.
Yeah.
Generation Y, it just wasn't good enough for this spectacular, marvelous, sensitive, thoughtful, informed, tolerant, enlightened group of youngsters. Also, they were occupying a special moment in history, and they still do.
Yeah.
They were really the first generation to grow up with the computer all around them, screens, from age 5 forward. I didn't have any computers, around me until I was 20, 25 years old. They were born with them. Gen X even didn't grow up. I mean, Gen X is roughly 1965 to 1985. They didn't grow up with computers at early ages either. So millennials were the first digital natives, right? Or they were called the early adopters.
Yeah.
So they were forming in a digital environment. Their brains, their minds were forming habits with the digital world all around them, the first ones. When my generation dies out and the older Generation X, there will no longer be any living memory of a time before the computer screen. It'll be gone. And the positive message at the time, 2000 to roughly 2010, was this amazing young group of people. They're going to be the pioneers of the 21st century. People like me, old people, we're too grooved in our habits. We're so linear and slow in the way we do things. We want to read something, we'll go to the library, we'll browse around the stacks, we'll pull out a book. We write with pencil and paper still. These millennials, they're fast.
Yeah.
They look it up. They text so quickly, right? They've got Wikipedia. They can race through the digital environment, and that this was taken as an advance. And the hype was everywhere. It was in the education world, it was in the culture world, it was in Silicon Valley, of course. Billions of dollars went into the marketing for all of these tools. They were hot, they were cool. Facebook, this new thing, Google.
We're talking like early 2000s, right?
In the 2000s, 2000 to 2010.
Okay.
We'll call it that. Facebook really exploded in around 2006. Yeah. Twitter was 2008. MySpace, 2001 or 2002. I can't remember. But social media was taking off at the time. And then the iPhone comes along a few years later, and things go crazy. All the video capacity that one has. You can walk around with 250 photos with you in your pocket at all times. You're in constant communication with everyone else. As I think it was Zuckerberg, he put it this way: we're trying to make it so you never have to be alone, okay? Which is a horrible thing to do, actually. It's good, it's spiritually healthy for people to be alone at times, as Jesus demonstrates 3 times in the Gospels when he says, I've got to go off and be alone. That's a lesson. Well, no. You can sleep with it on your phone, your phone right here, so that at 2 o'clock in the morning, if a picture comes through, ding, let me wake up, and you're in touch once again. Now, all the hype had to be exploded. You don't beat propagandizing, cheerleading, rallying around a bad message with calm, reasoned argumentation. You got to hit back hard.
Yeah.
No, not the greatest generation, the dumbest generation. That's why it's a rhetorical thing. It's facing a condition where everyone is on the bandwagon, racing in one direction, and that bandwagon needs to be broken down. Okay, not slowed down. We've got to stop it, and we've got to reverse it, because it's a horrible thing that is happening here. What is happening? Well, we'll just put it in terms of the opportunity costs. The more time young people are on those screens, they're not reading books, they're not reading magazines, newspapers, they're not listening to intelligent television and radio either.
What is just like aside, what is intelligence, television and radio?
Well, what we're doing now, we're talking about serious things. Intelligent radio would be watching intelligent news programs, listening to programs where people talk about books and ideas, where it's not just mass production of
Quake
marketing and people yelling at each other. I mean, let's just get some calm, intelligent people interacting with one another. Or, documentaries.
Yeah.
Shows about history, right? Shows about the U.S. presidency. Though that would be what is lost with this fixation on the screen. And there's an added element to this as well. The fixation on the screen is amplified by the fact that it is a social instrument. It connects 17-year-olds to what they care about most, other 17-year-olds. Okay? So if you take things like the video game, we'll take a recent one, Fortnite.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Fortnite. My son would play Fortnite. Kids can play Fortnite together, even though they're 20 miles away from one another. Two of them can enter into the same game and talk to each other.
Yes.
It's a video game and it's social. It's a social activity.
Yes.
So peer pressure is very powerful for 15, 16, 17-year-olds. What is worse than being shunned by other kids your own age when you're in high school age? So this was a very powerful added component, locking kids into one another so that you had tremendous amount of social and peer pressure going on, which blunted adult pressure on those kids. People like me saying, hey, knock it off, grow up. Adolescence is not a good condition to be in.
Yeah.
To call something adolescent is a pejorative term.
Yeah.
Stop being an adolescent.
Grow up.
Grow up. They don't grow up. This is why we see so many 35-year-old men playing video games all the time. They're not interacting with real women. They're looking at pornography, which does the job. And then they go back to their video games or their, ESPN, Sports Center, which is another adolescent activity, the way ESPN guys talk on that show. This drowning, this tidal wave of screens, social media, and peer stuff, it just swallowed up their minds. It made them dumb. They don't know anything. They're uninformed. They can't write a coherent paragraph. They don't care about anything that happened before last week. History doesn't mean anything to them. High art doesn't mean anything to you. We're sitting in here.
Yeah.
If I put on this stereo system I have, if I put on, I see Gustav Mahler's symphonies over there. Mahler's Ninth, they have no taste for it. They would have taste for some puerile rap garbage.
Yeah.
That's what they're sunk in, and they haven't been exposed to better things. They don't know.
Yeah, and so after you wrote this book, 15 years passes, 14 years passes, and they wrote, and you write, the dumbest generation grows up.
Like, what happened during that period?
And how does that people change?
Well, this was 2022, a few years ago. I came up with this sequel that looked at millennials now that they're 35 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And what do we see? All those rosy predictions about the next greatest generation. They are going to blossom like no generation ever before. They're going to be more informed and knowledgeable and eloquent because they write so much, they talk so much than ever before. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
One, educational achievement as measured by test scores went down. A lot of them got college degrees, but they didn't learn a lot. They don't know a lot, and they're not that skilled in terms of academic skills, reading and writing. When we look at the psychological measures, narcissism going up, anxiety
Why not?
depression, social mistrust. They actually don't feel good about their fellow Americans. They don't trust their neighbors. Right?
And what do you think that happened, like the mental health aspect of it?
Well, I'll get to that. Let me mention one more thing.
Yeah.
They're not marrying and having kids and forming families at the rate the previous generations did, which is a mark of the pessimism they feel about the future. They don't think of their lives as growing, building, developing, maturing, blossoming.
Yeah.
Life is a struggle for them. Now, what are the reasons? Many. One, they don't have God. They don't have church. They don't have any spiritual awareness, no transcendent orientation in their lives. They don't pray. Okay?
So
They do not have all of the emotional and psychological and metaphysical comforts that go with faith.
Yeah.
What a blessing it is for you and your listeners and the people who come to the In Altum meetings here in Washington, D.C., that at night when the day is over and it is quiet and still and you're going to bed and you can spend 5 minutes in prayer. How lucky are you to have that? It's good for the soul. Okay? They don't have God. They don't have faith. Life is harder when there is no appeal to something beyond this awful world that we live in. When time and circumstance simply proceed to, in one way or another, crush you now and then. They can't put that anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no rationale for bad things, you know. And Christianity gives a place for suffering.
Yeah.
They don't have that. So that's one thing. Another thing, they actually weren't given home and country. They were not taught patriotism. They don't feel, patriotism is a good feeling.
Okay.
It's good to feel good about the nation of which you are a citizen. It's good to feel, this is my home. I'm prepared to fight to defend this home. Most millennials did not have that patriotic feeling. They could not dedicate themselves, sacrifice themselves to the nation. And to feel that you don't have a home, to feel that you don't have really any place worth defending, that's another loss that contributes to the social mistrust. We're all Americans. That doesn't mean anything to more than half of millennials. That's another thing. Also, when I say home, a lot of them come from broken families, right? Single parents, you know, a lot of people moving around. There's no solidity to the family.
No community
family
built around
structure.
the homes, right?
Right. So that's another thing. The last thing, which relates to getting to the technology here, they don't have any meaningful sense of the past.
Okay.
Not being taught history, not being taught American literature from the colonial period forward. They don't feel Western civilization behind them.
Yeah.
And then all the great masterpieces and monuments tell them that they live in the shadow of great things. The education system gave up on teaching that for a few reasons. One was multiculturalism. We don't want to prize Western civilization. All civilizations are good, wrong. If I say to a bunch of educators, you know, the musical tradition from Bach to Mahler is the greatest musical assemblage ever created by human beings. Oh no, you can't say that. We're all cultural relativists here. What a horrible message this is for young people, not to know that there are cases of elevated things, high art. And there aren't very many of those things. There are great books and there are mediocre books. And to give people a tradition is deeply meaningful. It tells them when they're 17 years old, 18 years old, and they're heading out into the world, that you're going into a place that is capable of extraordinary creations of beauty and sublimity. You can experience those things, right?
And you can be a part of them, right?
They're yours. You can claim them. When you read the odes of John Keats, go ahead and memorize a few of them. They're yours. And that feel for tradition, T.S. Eliot, the poet, talked about this as something that gets into your bones. You feel, again, that you are an inheritor of a great tradition, of the characters of Hector and Achilles, and Aeneas and Dido, and the book of Job.
Yeah.
These are all the things that can be part of your own, your own sensibility. And those things also, all these things that I've said, God, country, family, tradition, all those things give you equipment to manage the disappointments of adulthood.
Okay.
You live in this digital bubble that you've created for yourself at age 15. You've got a couple hundred friends on Facebook. And if someone says something on Facebook that you don't like, well, I'll just unfriend that person. Anything in my world that I don't like, I can just remove from my digital me reality.
It's like a mirror. The algorithm, right?
And it's a mirror that is a distorted mirror. It only gives back the best things.
Yeah.
The best version of yourself. And in fact, what the digital thing is you can actually take a picture of yourself and make yourself look much, much better than you actually really do look.
Yeah.
So the digital thing promised them to manufacture your reality when you're 17. And that can kind of work when you're 17. Doesn't work when you're 24. And you got to pay bills. You got to pay the rent. You've got to work. You have a job, and some of your coworkers are 50 years old, and they really don't care about what happened to you over the weekend.
Yeah.
They're not interested. You're not all that special in this world. You had this girlfriend. You loved her so much, and you wanted to marry her, and she dumps you. This is life.
Yeah.
If you are digitally formed, it just doesn't make sense. It's not good. You have no equipment, again, to manage, to understand, to comprehend, to move through and beyond these disappointments. So you get depressed, right? Narcissism, is there any better formation of narcissists than that phone? It's all you. It's all about you, all the time. And narcissism is an unhappy condition. What happened to Narcissus in the ancient myth is bad. It's not good. And the man is actually doomed from the time he's born to his own death. Okay? So narcissism is a terrible condition. Not only is it a terrible condition for you, it's a terrible condition for all the people around you. Okay, you torture them. So this is what happened to the millennials. When they were young, you're the greatest. You're amazing. And look what you could do with all these tools that you've been given. What didn't they do? All the things that make them into mature, serious, thoughtful adults. That's where they are. They're age 35. And a lot of them are stuck because they're not going to go read. They've had a few very, very upsetting love affairs, what they think are love affairs. But they haven't read Romeo and Juliet. They haven't read the great love stories, most of them ending poorly, that would, again, give them a reservoir of understanding of the course of romance.
Yeah.
They don't have that. They don't have models of family that, in their own lives, their own families, or models of families that they get in literature, in great film, in plays. They don't have great stories of disappointment like the play Death of a Salesman, which kids used to read in high school all the time. It's disappeared now. But that's about life not working out. You know, things don't go so well, and it ends in tragedy. This would, again, this exposure to great books, great art, it gives them an understanding of human life not coming to fruition the way they thought it would. I mean, they all thought they were going to be Mark Zuckerberg, millionaires by age 25. Or they could be internet celebrities. Ugh. I mean, what the pursuit of internet celebrity is a it's a sordid existence. The pursuit of clicks, or likes on Twitter. What a way to spend your time. But that's what they've got. So here we are.
So you talked a lot about millennials. But what do you think about the younger generation?
Very different. Gen Z was not told at age 15, you're amazing, you're special. The digital thing, it's not really cool. And does anyone think Facebook is like the hottest thing around? It's old news. The phone, the iPhone is not anything unusual or particularly admirable. Most people now look at kids with an iPhone on their phone, at age 15, and think, what a waste of time. What kind of silly thing is going on now? They didn't think this with millennials. Yeah. With millennials, it was, wow, look at what they can do. They're so adept. Now, it's put down that phone and do something useful. That's the attitude most people have. So Gen Z didn't grow up spoiled. They didn't believe that they are special. Now, the problem is they did grow up in this digital time. Yeah. And most of them are sunk into their phones just as much as millennials.
Or worse, I think, yeah.
Could be worse with all the new tools, TikTok and everything else. I see these young people making these TikTok videos, and I said, if you put the time into studying a foreign language, learning to play a musical instrument, that you put into these idiotic videos you make where you dance and whatever, you'd be pretty amazing. But they don't. It's not where the energy goes. So Gen Z, I think what you're going to find is Gen Z, there's a lot of realization among Gen Z, I'm wasting my life online. Millennials never thought that.
Yeah.
But Gen Z, a lot of Gen Z feel, I just can't, this social media, just, It's just too much. They can't get away from it.
That's the thing.
But they're not pleased with it the way it used to be. And we'll see. There's a small group of Gen Z who understand. They're the ones who, they like records.
Yeah.
They like vinyl. You go to the stores, you'll see them, going around the vinyl stores. They're not doing classical music. They're doing whatever, but they like the vinyl stuff. Retro is kind of a thing. The phone, the old flip phone, a lot of them have the old flip phone because it's cool to be not up to date. And there is a number of them who are going to schools that have no phones, that are no screen schools. They're called classical. A lot of them are classical schools, classical education in the United States. It's a growing phenomenon. Or homeschooling, which is all the old-fashioned way with books, pencil, and paper. What's going to happen is that group is going to grow. It's maybe 5% right now.
Okay, it's a small percentage.
But it's grown from zero.
Yeah.
Pretty fast. And the movement to ban phones in schools,
it's growing.
spreading everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the state of New Hampshire, the state of Georgia, the state of Arkansas, the state of Florida, these are all places where no phones in schools. Everyone realizes now the problem. 10 years ago, if you said you should ban the phones in schools, they would say, what kind of idiot are you? What kind of backward Luddite are you? Well, we were right. You were wrong. Say you're sorry. And
let's move on.
They never say they're sorry. but here we are now seeing the damage. Does anybody not recognize the damage that has been done to young people at this point? You couldn't say, when I wrote this book, there were maybe 5 people, who were known around the country saying, stop, no, this is bad. Okay? Now everyone knows the problem. And why I wrote this second book was I said, you don't really get the full realization of the damage that was done until that 15-year-old is 35 years old.
Yes.
Those adolescent years are the time when thoughts, tastes, knowledge is most formed. To lose those years, you never get them back.
Yeah.
A 35-year-old is not going to say, I got to read some Shakespeare plays. It's not going to happen. But they should. They should. So we're going to get, I think we're already actually getting close to a 2-tiered society.
Separated.
The very top, do you know, in the 1990s, there was something called the digital divide. Everyone was worried rich kids are going to have access to the internet and poor kids aren't. And this is going to make academic achievement get
the gap
wider. The gap will grow. Do you know there's a digital divide today? The high-income kids do less screen time than low-income kids.
It's interesting.
It's reversed. A lot of those Silicon Valley inventors of these tools, they don't let their own kids get on the screens. They send them to schools that are low-tech. Meanwhile, they donate all these screens to public schools, right? And feel good. But they know the damage that the screens do. So the top performers educationally spend less time on screens than the lower performers. And also it tracks by income as well. So a lot of the rich people, they realize, and they're keeping their kids away from the
screens,
from the damage. Yeah.
So, Professor, we've talked about how this digital era has been like so harmful for us. But how can we do? What can we do right now? I mean, I'm 23. I mean, my generation.
It's too late. Your life is already destroyed.
Okay, thank you very much.
There's no hope.
I appreciate it.
You have no hope. You're done. But if you have kids,
Yeah.
you can save your kids.
Okay.
Okay. So what you do is, and these are just the commonplace recipes. No screens, no phone until age 16. No phone. I was in a plane yesterday, and this couple next to me had a small 2-year-old child. Child had the tablet. I want to say, don't do this. Do not. You are harming your child. And again, the upper income people all know this.
Yeah.
So I say to people, just adults, reduce your screen time, read books.
Good books.
Listen to good music, right? Listen to intelligent conversation, and you got to work at it.
Yeah.
You got to work at it. Get off Twitter, right? Get away from the social media. With your kids, I'll say this one thing. You must every night for 1 hour go to bed with your child and read a big book. If your child is 2 years old, a big picture book. You read the lines, you point to the pictures, you talk to your child. 1 hour of book time a night. And you do this even after your child has learned to read. So I read to my son when he was 11 or 12 years old. One, I could read more sophisticated things than he could read on his own because of, I'd help him comprehend it. But also emotionally, it's very good for your children to have that time. End of the day, things have happened, it's quiet, we're preparing for sleep. We'll say some prayers, we'll read. It brings the chaos, whatever confusion of the day has occurred, and every 5-year-old experiences reality is to some degree chaotic. That's why the parental stability is so important. But it's emotionally, psychologically invaluable to your child. 1 hour a night of book time.
Okay.
I mean, there are times that I fall asleep. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Fine. But just do that, and just delay that screen. Realize that you must be vigilant in a way parents never had to be vigilant before. This is the tentacles of the demon. I mean, the cell phone is Satan's primary medium at this point. It's his best instrument on planet Earth. The demons are after your children, and their most effective weapon is the screen. That's how you have to look at this. There's something demonic going on. I'll see some 15-year-old girl dancing in her bedroom to some horrible rap music on some TikTok video, and I'm just horrified. I think, what has happened to this girl? What have they done to her? Where are the parents?
So I want to talk a little bit about sensitivity. I mean, we grow up in this digital era, we don't have a lot of sensitivity. I mean, with all these books, you read Dostoevsky, and if you give a Dostoevsky book to one of my generation,
They won't feel anything. You won't talk to them.
but I think we can, I would argue that we can retrain our sensitivity. What do you think of that? Could we is there any practice, what would you recommend to become more sensible and actually let us this big art and big music and big books talk to us?
One thing that the screen does is it delivers to 15-year-olds things that I never saw when I was 15 years old. The degree of violence and sex, just awful things that is now delivered.
Yeah.
And because we're fallen creatures, it's easy to be absorbed in it. Fights happening in the street. There is a scene in Dante's Divine Comedy when Virgil and Dante are deep in the Inferno, and these two shades, they're bickering. They're arguing back and forth. They hate each other back and forth. And Dante pauses and watches. And Dante starts getting fixated exactly the way kids get fixated on the screen when they see two people yelling at each other in a parking lot and a fight is going to break out. And Virgil says to Dante something like, if you continue to watch them, you and I will start fighting too. And it's not simply that Virgil is saying, I'm going to get mad at you if you don't move on, if you're too caught up in this, but their conflict, it's going to start affecting us. We're going to start having that conflictual attitude ourselves. You know, it's like when you're driving along the highway and there's a bad accident and there's an ambulance there. And people slow down because they want to see. They want to see the blood. They want to see the damage. I drive by with my son. I said, Jack, you know, we feel bad. We hope, but let's not look. We don't want to look. We don't want to become spectators that turn suffering into a spectacle. That's what this screen appeals to make us into voyeurs. And what is the most interesting voyeurism, right? Violence, bad behavior, sex. And that's, again, our proneness to sin. You know, well, what's the famous line in St. Paul? Oh, brothers and sisters, oh, my brethren, you know, whatever is good, whatever is true, whatever is lovely, whatever is noble, think on these things. Don't let your thoughts get drawn into the bad stuff too much, because it can absorb you. And the internet does this to 14 and 15-year-olds, and they don't have most of them don't have the circumspection, the prudence, the awareness to pull away. And so, to get back to your point, they get desensitized. They lose their sensitivity to things. You see 100 fights in the street, and so the next 101, a guy gets, hammered. Oh, you're not upset by it. Someone gets killed. If you've seen all these killings, another guy got killed. This is the problem of this internet showing you everything. So,
and how can we turn it around, or at least reduce the damage that's been made already?
No, it's all over.
You really think
there's no future?
Really?
Western civilization, the new dark ages are upon us. The darkness is descending. Sin, darkness. It's triumphant right now.
Okay.
I think that's the way the world is going, and the best we can do is we're going to be Benedictines, and we're going to try to preserve the best, whatever is lovely, whatever is noble, whatever is good, in our own little ways. This, I think, is where we must focus our personal lives as much as we can, to keep out all the vulgarity and stupidity that is everywhere. It's on every screen, wherever you turn. I go to hotel rooms. I don't have a TV. I don't have satellite, whatever. And haven't for a long time. I go to hotel rooms and I'll be tired and just get some food and turn on the TV, and I'll go through the channels and I see, my goodness, what kind of universe is this? It's a freak show. It's a circus. And again, all this bad behavior on these TV shows. Even the news shows, people yelling at each other. Even on CNN. Why are you people just in these juvenile contests of again, snapping back and forth. There's no way to conduct a society.
Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about first things? Like what made you come into the magazine, and if that had like any relation with your conversion to Catholicism?
Well, I went into First Things as a kind of shift out of academia. I didn't really like the things going on in academia in the humanities. Things were coming too politicized, too much identity politics in that world. And so when Rusty Reno offered me, Mark, I just let go of my senior editor and I'm looking for a new one. Do you want to do it? I said, okay. So, and that brought me into another world, right? A world of media, New York City, and Catholicism. I'd already started coming back to the church a few years before. Okay. I think what prompted that most of all was having a child and saying, I want to raise my child with the Catholic Church and with that faith that I lost when I was young. And so bringing him back into the church pulled me back into the church as well. And so I'm very glad to be at events where we actually say grace before dinner.
That's great.
Yes, it is.
I'm just going to finish with some like small questions. The answer don't need to be that small, but as you wish. So what does the term nonconformist sound to you?
Well, nonconformist just means, behaving like Socrates. One always consults one's own inner conscience and reason and knowledge to see if the prominent direction of things is the right one. And that not only does one need conscience and reason to do that and knowledge, but also one needs courage to do that. That's the big part. I mean, it's how many people just go along? Most people. Life is easier that way. There are great blandishments to conformity.
Yeah.
It's nice to go with the flow, to feel I'm not alone. Nonconformity means I'm alone frequently. And you just have to accept that. So it's especially a problem when the price of nonconformity could be a job, right? It could be social status.
Yeah.
It could be colleagues who just, give you bad looks in the office or at work. And it's an old story from, Thomas More and so many others. How much will I bend before I say no?
Yeah.
Some people never say no. A few people maybe say no too quickly, too often.
Too easy.
But nonconformity in this age of coercion and conformity is a necessity more and more. We've got too many sacred cows that ought to be exploded. We've got too many ideas that liberalism turned into dogma that have to be undone. For example, men and women are really just the same. They're only socially conditioned to be different. Wrong. Okay, you got to say no. Well, that angers a lot of people when you say no about things.
Is there a particular nonconformist that you would like to invite to dinner, even though maybe that person is already dead or there's no way to reaching out?
Well, a lot of my friends, conservatives are themselves nonconformists because in academia and sort of in the media world, we are vastly outnumbered.
Yeah.
Very much so. So I'm drawn to people who just say no, and I could mention a lot of names, just friends, people who write things, that they may be sort of prominent. I mean, look, Donald Trump is the king nonconformist.
Okay.
I mean, Donald Trump said so many things that so many people regard as utterly outrageous that you would have to say, you know, this guy just will not go along with, you know, the right-thinking people. I mean, he just thinks what he thinks and pushes ahead. So he's the great example, I think, in modern times of the rogue, the renegade, the one who will stand up there with 15 people and he'll say the one thing that everyone else regards as appalling. He'll just say it.
Yeah.
So you call that egomania? I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter to me. I don't care if Donald Trump is egotistical or not. I mean, you've got to have a whole lot of ego to go into politics, especially if you're going to go against the party line so often. But I think that the idea of refusing to bow down to liberal dogma, it takes a lot, and he did it. And he's beaten much of it back.
Perfect. So what's
The worst piece of advice you've ever.
I mean, I don't take any, I rarely get any advice that I take. It's been so long, I'm too old to have heard a lot of advice.
maybe
But-
an advice that it's like it's been given to people right now, to young people? It could be that.
Well, one form of advice that produces the conformity is that tells people, you know, you got to go along to get along. You know, if you want that good job, if you want to get into medical school, you know, you've got to build the right resume, and that whole achievement track.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes happy people, generally. I think that too many of those perfect overachiever kids are 30 years old and they don't seem content. They're not spiritually sound. And maybe the worst bit of advice is the loss of the first proper form of advice, which is be a good man, be a good woman. That's number one. Now, what goes into being a good man, a good woman? We'll save that for later. But don't make money, right? Get power and influence, right? Don't make a lot of friends, be popular. Be a good man, be a good woman. Just don't hear that said very, very often.
Fair enough. So connected with this, for you, what does it mean to actually be happy?
The first prerequisite of being happy is don't think about being happy. Jordan Peterson, I think, is right about saying your goal should not be a happy life. It should be a meaningful life. Make your life meaningful. Have a commitment to something. And it's more than just personal gain. That's not what makes life ultimately meaningful. You've got to find something meaningful and commit to it that is more than you. So that I think that's advice that should be rendered more often.
So, Professor, this podcast is called Inconformez. That is the direct translation into nonconformist.
Yep.
I really think you are like a very big nonconformist, and I appreciate a lot that you sat with me an hour long to talk about these topics that you probably talked about like hundreds. I really appreciate it, and
we can wrap it up here. So thank you very much. No?
I'll say one thing.
Yeah.
I don't think my non-conformity deserves much admiration because I've never lost a job. I've had occasions of humiliation or attack because of my non-conformity, but I haven't really suffered because of it. So I can't claim anything special in my take on things.
Well, maybe you can help people that can admire you. We can. So just last one question on a personal side. Maybe it's a unfair question, but I will ask it anyway. What maybe 3 or 2 books would you say that it's necessary for the young people to read? Like you cannot not read these books.
You know, I'm gonna give one that might be surprising. I think that reading Nietzsche
No way.
on resentment.
Okay.
I think Nietzsche he used the French term on le sentiment. He kept it in the French. I think that's a very important issue in today's world. So secular reading would be understand what Nietzsche means by le sentiment. I think it's the most important term to understand contemporary politics.
Okay.
That's the secular thing that one should read. And the other books one should read the Gospels. One should memorize much of the Sermon on the Mount. Right?
Yeah.
One should read the wisdom literature of the Old Testament. One should read Job and Proverbs and of course Genesis.
Well,
So
Professor,
the Bible
yeah.
and Nietzsche.
Yeah, I didn't expect that answer at all. Thank you very much, and well, that's it.
Thank you.